Hey friends, today and for Black History Month, we are going to learn about a famous poet, um, actress, I guess you could say activist. She was a lot of great things. She lived to be 86 years old. Her name is Maya Angelou. And then on this page, I have a few quotes that she's known for. It says, "Try to be a rainbow in someone else's cloud." So she was a very positive person. She was always looking to make things better. So even though it could be a cloudy day, look for the rainbow, right? Rainbows are beautiful. So sometimes cloudy days make us feel blah. But if we think about a rainbow, we might be like, oh, it won't be so bad after all if there's a rainbow. Another thing she said here is, "I've learned that people will forget what you've said, forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel." And I'm sure you've probably experienced someone like that too. If someone treats you very badly, you usually never really forget that. So you always want to be nice to people. There's no reason to be mean, right? So this lady here is very kind, and we're going to learn a little bit more about her right now. So hang on one second. Let me get you there. Like I said, she was an African American poet, an essayist, a memoirist, which means she wrote about her memories. So she would read like her memories that she wrote, and she would talk about like what her life was like as a kid and stuff like that. She was a singer, an actress, a playwright, and an educator, as well as a civil rights activist. An educator is another word for a teacher, so she also did teach. She's most famous for her 7 autobiographies she wrote. An autobiography is a story about yourself. Um, and her creative career spanned poetry, singing, acting, and even teaching. And there's a lot that children can learn from her. She's very inspiring. So let's watch this Brain Pop video and see what we can learn about Maya Angelou.
Man, that guy sure likes to sing. Dear Tim and Moby, who was Maya Angelou? Thanks, Kimmy. Maya Angelou was a famous American author and poet. She was also, well, a lot of things. An activist, a singer, a dancer, a journalist, an actor, and a director. She was born Marguerite Johnson in St. Louis, Missouri on April 4th, 1928. Her childhood was rough. As a young girl, she was abused by her mother's boyfriend, and for about 4 years, she wouldn't speak to anyone except her brother. She moved back and forth between homes, and sometimes she didn't even have a home. For a while, she lived with other homeless children in abandoned cars at a junkyard. I know, she went through some really hard times, but Angelou turned those struggles into great literature. Her poems, plays, and books explore oppression in lots of different forms. Oppression of black people by white people, of women by men, and of the poor by the rich. Her most famous work is I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, which was published in 1969. In it, she tells the story of a young girl named Maya growing up in Arkansas in the 1930s. At that time, the South was segregated. African Americans had to shop in different stores, live in different parts of town, and even go to different schools. They were treated like second-class citizens in pretty much every way. Yeah, it's hard to believe that this wasn't even that long ago.
It wasn't that
In the
long
book,
ago.
racism isn't Maya's only problem. She goes through some rough events, just like the author did as a child. Her mother's boyfriend abuses her, and her mother abandons her. Maya feels trapped by her poverty, her skin color, and her gender. She thinks that she is totally powerless over her body and her destiny. But over the course of the book, she learns to assert herself and take control of her life. Well, the character Maya isn't exactly a younger version of Maya Angelou. The book is based on her childhood, but it's not a strict autobiography. That's a book where someone writes their own life history. Instead, Angelou combined fact and fiction in order to make her story more powerful. The book also has shifting perspective. Sometimes the character speaks as an adult, and sometimes as a child. So when you read it, you get 2 different perspectives on the events of Maya's life. Both versions of the narrator switch in and out of dialect, a way of speaking specific to a certain time and place. Angelou uses the language to evoke the rural South of the 1930s. Yep, it was praised by critics and became a huge bestseller. She followed it up with 5 more autobiographical novels that covered the rest of her life, as well as several volumes of poetry. One, called Give Me a Cool Drink of Water 'Fore I Die, was nominated for the prestigious Pulitzer Prize. Angelou also had a career in film and television, writing screenplays, directing films, and appearing in TV programs. She's even been nominated for Tony and Emmy Awards for acting. In 1993, she read her poem On the Pulse of Morning at President Bill Clinton's inauguration. She became the first African American and the first woman to receive this honor. And in 2010, she accepted the Medal of Freedom from Barack Obama, the country's first African American president. Even toward the end of her life, Angelou never slowed down. She was finishing a new book when she passed away in 2014. She was 86. Hey, Moby, why don't we open that cage?
Okay, so that was more about the life of Maya Angelou. And like I said, she lived a very hard life as a child. But it said she got assertive and she took action. So when she got assertive, that means she took charge. She said, enough is enough. I'm not doing this anymore. And that is how she became the person she was. And she lived to be 86 years old. She lived a good, long life. And although she did have it rough in the beginning, she made things better.